Hello and welcome to another episode of Early Morning Barking, or whatever you want to call this thing. Like and subscribe, that's the thing I'm supposed to tell you to do, and of course, socially things scrolling past the screen, or if you're watching on Instagram, scrolling past the screen. The thing you see. If I have to explain it, it's not funny. Anyway, I'd like to talk to you today about, interpersonally exploitative behaviour. Interpersonally exploitative behaviour, taking advantage of people, ultimately being a bit of a dick and getting what you want out of people. This is another NPD marker, by the way, in case you didn't know. In the last video, I put up a little warning at the beginning of the video that said, if you don't want to hear people say difficult things to you, this is not the video for you to watch. In a similar way, if you know me personally, don't watch the rest of this video, thank you. I would really appreciate that. You'll appreciate that. We can go on being friends a lot longer if you probably just stop watching this video now. With that in mind, let's talk about interpersonally exploitative behaviour. It sounds exactly like what it is. NPD markers are. There's nothing confusing there. It's interpersonally exploitative behaviour, which I quite enjoy saying. Using people and getting what you want out of them, and maybe even to some degree tossing them aside afterwards. It's a fairly shitty, horrible thing to do, isn't it? And I think this is the trait that gets the NPD crowd, that's us, mixed up with the narcissism crowd, which is a different thing. Okay, it's very difficult to get into the intricacies of the differences between narcissistic personality disorder and narcissism. They're two different things, right? Technically, as sufferers of NPD, we aren't narcissists, right? There's types of narcissism. We have grandiose narcissism, which is the big outgoing, I think I'm amazing, I think I'm God, I think I should be in charge of everything, all of that sort of thing. Grandiose narcissism. You'll see many examples of that around the world. Look at politics, the grandiose narcissism. Okay? Donald Trump. There you go. Then there's the other kind, which is vulnerable narcissism, which is the situation that's more like your NPD. We're vulnerable because it's all bullshit, right? All of our narcissistic traits are based on our own inadequacies and feelings of doubt and that sort of thing, and we're overcompensating for things. Narcissists aren't doing that. They were just assholes to begin with, and everything in the world of a narcissist is set up to serve the narcissist. Everything, every aspect of it, people, the lot, right? We aren't quite like that. Ours is more sort of opportunistic. We're a bit more fragile. We're not as well planned out. We're not narcissistic, so we don't plan our entire lives to serve us. If we had that level of control, we probably wouldn't have NPD in the first place, right? And so it's much more opportunistic. We don't consciously set out to exploit people on a day-to-day basis. Okay, that's not our goal. I often think another one of the big differences between NPD and narcissism is the remorse and the guilt involved afterwards. Like, we know we're doing a bad thing, but at the time you can sort of detach from it and do it. And maybe even for a while you can convince yourself that it was really a good idea. Fuck those people. I needed my thing and that sort of thing. But really, you're not a bad person. So this all builds up and weighs heavier on you. And eventually it will break you, and hopefully that's at the point when you go and seek help and find out why you're doing these things. Might well be NPD, who knows? So the way it sort of comes around is, I found, for me, it's sort of when letting somebody, what's the right way to word this? When behaving in a way with somebody that is somewhat exploitative on my part. No, that's not the right. This is really tricky, because you don't just want to say, yeah, I've used people. You just use people and get what you want out of them. And sometimes people just fall into doing that for you, and you know they're doing it, but you just let them carry on because you're getting something out of it. It's that shrug in life and go, huh, that was a freebie. It's that kind of thing. It's very difficult to talk about. You can sort of believe you're doing something for the greater good. Maybe you'll make it up to this person eventually. Maybe you're doing things with good intention. Maybe you think you're sort of encouraging some, oh God, I'm not doing this well. This is actually a difficult thing to talk about, because there's so many elements and things to it, different ways in which you can be exploitative. And in fact, that just getting somebody to do something for you or whatever, that's only a tiny, tiny part of it. I mean, I've started looking at my language and the way I talk to people, right? And there's tiny little things. It's usually ends of sentences. Well, if you feel that way. That kind of thing. Well, that really hurt me. I'm sorry I hurt you, but I'm really hurt now. That kind of lots of that. It's just ways in which we just, in the spur of the moment, find a way to make something either about us, or, depending on what the thing is and the situation is, maybe less about us. Maybe we've done something bad and we need the attention taking off us. Maybe the attention's already on us and we can twist it round to making it be about how really we're the ones that are hurt, and that kind of thing. Exploitative behaviour. Getting what you want out of people and being okay with that. And that just comes in so many forms. I'm back to that arguing with the person in the shop, trying to get the thing I want, trying to get that order sorted, trying to get all these different things where I can just, maybe if I can be a little bit less than moral. Okay. And this is why I would say to people who know me, don't watch this. You'll think of examples. You'll think of times, things I've said, things I've done that made you feel bad, and maybe made me feel a little bit less bad. Or times when I've clearly talked you into doing something or whatever. And it doesn't mean I was always out to use people. Like I say, that's not what it is. It's not that thought out. It's not that well planned. It's so opportunistic, and it's more about taking the route of less resistance for me. That's kind of what it's about. Taking that route of least resistance. That what makes my life easiest. If I have to get this thing out of you to do it, then okay. And it just sort of happens. You just fall into it. And really, the only way I found of coping with it is to identify where and when I do it and just can stop it. Right? There's no trick to that. But I think it's difficult. The challenge with this one is that it's difficult to identify all of the different times in which you do it. It's so much. And because it's so opportunistic, you never really necessarily know all the different ways in which you're going to do it, because not every opportunity has presented itself to you in life yet. You might find new and wonderful, interesting ways of getting what you want out of people and exploiting them for your own benefit that just haven't entered your head yet. But what you have to be prepared for is looking out for the fact that you might well do that to people. You need to tune into that empathy and find out, try and think about how your actions are affecting other people emotionally. And if you're doing things that might well make people feel bad, if you're doing something that would wind you up if it was done to you, then you shouldn't be doing that thing to somebody else. Maybe people need empathy to get over this one as well. Maybe that's what it is. But empathy is a tricky one, and I see a lot of misconceptions and a lot of misunderstandings as to what empathy is and how we should react to it and all of that sort of thing. I'm going to have to come back to empathy many times, because I think a lot of people who don't naturally have it are missing out on a lot of what it means to have it and how it should affect us. And one way that it should affect us is that it should prevent us from treating people exploitatively. So you can see again this sort of things that pile up to make us the screwed up mess that we are, right? You've got this problem, well, it leads to this, and then these two together lead to this. It's just another layer. And I think maybe some of them you have to chip away at the same time, or at least in the right order, or it just becomes extremely difficult. It's kind of like playing Mega Man 2. You can try and fight all the different levels in what order you want, but if you do it in the right way, then the weapon that you got at the end of the last level is the thing that's going to help you destroy the next level. And I'm finding NPD is kind of working a little bit like that. You starting with that empathy, that's a massive step that allows you to start pulling off the layers below it or on top of it. I don't know, make up your own metaphor for NPD. I can't do everything for you. So good luck with it. Try and identify the ways in which you interpersonally exploit people. There will be a few. Don't get too caught up in it, which is a tricky thing. Look, I've started worrying about all kinds of stuff, right? At one point, I was counting the number of times in conversations I started a sentence with the word I, because I thought that I'm just talking about myself. I think this, I did that, and all of this. Incidentally, for the record, there have been studies and there has been absolutely no correlation found between instances of narcissistic behavior and writing the letter I. That's not a thing. That was entirely something I just made up in my own head, and then started to worry about. But that's BPD, and you NPD people don't need to worry about that yet. Unless you're like me. Double trouble. Great. Anyway, have fun. I hope you're not exploiting people too much. Try and stop it. I'm sorry. I know we can't. I know. But I've reached the point where I just have to laugh about it. I have to just not take this seriously as much as possible. I'm aware it's a very serious thing, but fuck me, I'm not letting it get me down. That's not going to happen. Anyway, you take care. I'll see you later. Bye.